This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Hello, I'm Angela G. Barnes, and you're watching This is the Day TV Ministries, where I'll be sharing inspirational, life-changing, faith-based stories of God's miracles still happening in our everyday lives. So come, join me right here as we journey together by faith and not by sight. Hello and welcome to This is the Day TV Ministries. I am your host, Angela G. Barnes, and I have an amazing story for you today. I'm talking with a young man who God has taken from gangsta to gospel. That's right, he has overcome the hardships during his childhood through violence, gang, drug activity. He even died. That's right, so we want you to stay tuned and help me welcome Pastor Sean Smith Sr. Welcome, Pastor Sean, to the very first show of This is the Day TV. You are my very guest. You do know that.
I'm honored to be here.
I'm so glad you are finally here. You are here by way of Columbus?
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, yes. Ohio. We're just happy that you are here to share your incredible story. You have an amazing story, and so befitting for it to be the very first story on my show. But I want to just jump right in, and I want you to take us back to the beginning and tell us about your childhood and the dynamic in the household.
Okay, so growing up, I was one of those kids who grew up in church, but the church wasn't at home. You know how people say you fake it till you make it.
Yep,
or
heard that.
You look good to the people, but you don't let people know what's going on the inside. Mm-hmm. So, my father was an elder of the church. My mother played the guitar in the church. So we were very much wrapped into the church. I learned how to play the drums just because I wanted to sit next to my mom on Sunday, So everything on the outside looked good, but I have videos, VHS tape of me at 6 months, 7 months in a diaper. My mother throwing me in the air, and I'm laughing and joking and smiling with my mom and my brother. And then my mother asked to change and asked my father to come around. And as soon as he picked me up, the smiles left, the laughs left. Like 6, 7 months old. Like
6, 7 months old. That's very young.
Yeah. At that time, I don't know what it was at that age. Mm-hmm. That the issue was there, but there was definitely one that was there. I've heard numerous times from my brothers and sisters, because there's 6 of us. I'm the youngest of 6, but I only grew up with 1. And I heard from the older siblings that the issue he had with you was your color. You're darker than everybody else. Everyone else is lighter, like the shade of my hand.
No way.
And because I'm a few shades darker, my oldest sister told me that's what the problem was for her. When she was growing up, my dad would lock her in the closet and say, you can't come out because you're too dark, because everyone else was lighter. And I remember all of the rumors, all of the stuff, people saying, you're probably not his kid, and all of that type of stuff because of my complexion. Mm-hmm. But as a little kid, I watched as everybody praised my family. They praised my dad. He was an excellent speaker, excellent preacher. But they didn't see what was going on at home. So as a little kid, I'm like, this is a joke. Like majority of my life, I literally played the drums to be next to my mom. But I grew up thinking church was a joke majority of my life because of what I saw in the house when I was a kid.
So you are a preacher's kid?
Yes.
Was he a pastor or?
He pastored a church for, I want to say, it's like 3 years, like his church.
Wow.
But he was an evangelist. He was on the road. He was an elder at the church. He was one of the main elders of the church. So anything that happened, he was the one giving the votes. He was the guy that was up speaking all the time. He would do these Friday night fire services or something. He did all of that stuff. So I grew up literally sitting in the pews all the time, but had absolutely no respect for the church because I thought it was a joke.
Because of what was going on in the home.
And I didn't understand how you could be one way at home and be another way at church. It didn't make sense to me.
So tell me about that relationship between your dad and you. What was that like?
It was nothing. It was really nothing there. I didn't have any respect for him. We was always consistently like going back and forth, even as a little kid. I remember in elementary school, and my brother's 3 years older than me, so he was 3 grades higher. So when he was in 5th grade, I was in 2nd grade. I remember he got in trouble at school and I got a whooping for it. He would get in trouble for anything. I would be the one that got disciplined, not him.
And do you think this was, again, because of your skin color?
I don't know if it was because of that or he just didn't like me. But I dealt with that. The school we went to was right across the bridge. There was a walk across bridge right in front of our house. I went to Leewood Elementary, and literally we would get up in the morning, get dressed, walk across the bridge. My dad would always call me back into the house when I was getting ready to go out. And he would say, you know you're stupid and you're gonna have a bad day because nobody likes you. And then he would tell me to leave. And I would walk across the bridge and literally have the worst day ever. Principal would call the house, my dad would come, give me a whooping, and then he would go back home.
Oh.
That was every single day. Every day I heard, you're stupid. When I was in middle school, that went all the way up to middle school. I heard it every single day. You're stupid, you're ugly, nobody's gonna like you. Every single day.
So now this is now ingrained in your head. Are you believing this, or did he just use this just to break you down?
I never believed it. You know, I didn't think I was stupid because the teachers always said, like, you're not stupid. Like, you're one of the smart kids. You just don't apply yourself because something's blocking you. And they would always say it, like, there's something blocking you. And I always had a temper, even from a little kid. So they figured that the blockage was the temper. Like, I never would just do the work and focus. I would do the work, somebody would say something, my focus would be immediately shifted on them, and then we got to fight.
So I hear that this is how he's treating you. So was he just this way with you, or was there any other type of dysfunction and abuse, mental or physical, in the home?
Nothing with my brother. That was the golden child, in my opinion. But my brother's like, I say this all the time. If it wasn't for my brother, I'd probably been dead a long time ago, because he took care of me when I was homeless. When my dad kicked me out and all that stuff, he took care. He made sure that sometimes, like if I would come by the house, he would sneak food out the window type stuff, just so I could eat.
So where's your mom in all of this?
Well, mom passed in '93. But in that process, when I was a kid, she was a nurse. So she left for work at like 7 in the morning. School started at 8. My dad was just now getting off work because he worked 3rd shift. So they would like be switching. You know, when she gets us ready for school, he would be coming in from work, and then she would go to work and he'd be there.
So what was their relationship like?
Horrible, in my opinion. I remember when I was a kid, I had to be maybe 6, 7. Not 6 or 7. Me and my brother heard some screaming and arguing and yelling in the living room. And the way that our rooms was set up, you know, the living room and the kitchen was next to each other, and you go down the hallway, it was 3 bedrooms. It was our bedroom, another bedroom, and then theirs at the end. And we were in the front bedroom. It was maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Heard all this screaming and hollering. We came around the corner. My brother looked and he went back to the room. I looked and I saw my dad on top of my mom punching her in the face. I'd never seen it before. So for, you know, a little kid seeing something like that, who was a mama's boy, your first instinct, protect your mother. So I ran around the side of the living room, got into the kitchen, grabbed a blade about that long, ran behind him while he was on top of my mother, like just punching her. And I kicked him in his private from behind. And he rolled over and I stuck the knife to his throat. And I'm sitting on top of him just trying to like push it in, but you know, I'm a kid. I'm trying to push it in. My mother picks me up, runs to the back of the room, runs to her room, locks the door, puts the dresser in front of the door, and she says, "Why did you do that? Why in the world did you do that?" I said, "I gotta protect you." So for hours, all I heard was him banging on the door. You know, "You think he a man, send him out here. You think he a man, send him out here." My mother was saying, "I wish you didn't do that. I wish you didn't do that."
So it just made matters worse.
Right.
So now let's move forward. You said in '93, your mother passed away. What actually shifted because of her passing in your life?
Well, she passed from cervical cancer, and I was in the room when she died. Like, literally. She had called me and my brother to come into the room. So when I walked in, my aunts was there, a couple of my uncles was in the room, my dad was in the room. She said some words to me and was like, "You're gonna be okay. You know, I'm working things out for you to be okay. And what I want you to do is just listen to your aunt." I didn't know she was trying to get me to live with my aunt until I got older. She passed after she told me that she loved me, and I went to walk out the room. I heard her flatline and all the doctors ran in. So I didn't even get out of the room before she died.
And then how did that affect you after she passed?
It affected me because I ended up going mute in a way. I stopped talking to people. I became extremely violent. And back in '93, it was when the Yo Mama jokes was big. So, you know, I would be the guy that wanted to fight everyone because of the Yo Mama jokes that ain't even being said towards me.
And so I want to talk a little bit more about that. What we're going to do, we're going to go to a quick break. We have so much more to cover with this great story. We're going to go to a break, but when we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about what happened after you went mute and what happened with your father, you know, when he left you, and just talk a little bit more about that. So I want you to stay right there with us. We'll be right back. Hello everyone, I am so excited to stand before you today on this day, my very first episode of This Is the Day TV Ministries. This has been a long faith journey. 4 years ago, back in 2017, God gave this to me, and look at me now. I am here before you. And I promised God that I would dedicate my very first show back to Him to bless it. And what better way than partaking of His body and of His blood, the sacrifice that He made through His Son, Jesus Christ, on the cross. So this is my version of communion, back to the Father. Father, as I stand before you humble and break this bread that represents your body, that was beaten, that was bruised, that was tortured, just so that I can stand here as your vessel, to be used to share in the many stories, bona fide miracles, faith stories of your greatness, of your power, and of your love. I now take this in remembrance of you. And now, as I raise this cup, representing your anointed blood that was not only shed for my sins, for my redemption, but now for this ministry that you've given to me, I now give it back to you to have your way, do what you will, make it life-changing, make it explosive, make it global, to your glory, to your honor, and to your praise. In Jesus' name I pray. I claim this to be so, and so it is. My friends, if you are believing God for something, if He said it, He will do it. And if He promised it, like you see here, He will bring it to pass. Stay in faith and be blessed. Welcome back, everyone. We're here talking with Pastor Sean on his journey from gangsta to gospel. Now, before the break, you were talking to us about the traumatic experience you had when your mother passed away. And I want you to tell us what happened after she passed away and how that affected you, and then how that also changed things with your father. Okay.
So after she passed in '93, I went through a period of time where I just stopped talking to people because I really didn't have much to say. My father thought that I was crazy because I wouldn't even talk to him. So he took me to a place called Riverside, and I got an evaluation. 4th floor of Riverside Hospital in Columbus, Ohio was at that time the mental ward for youth and young adults.
Okay.
So I went, did this evaluation. They evaluated me and they said to me, well, you don't have issues in your brain, but you do have an extremely big temper. So we want to help you with understanding how to deal with your temper.
Okay.
And they said, because I was young, they said, the only issue is we have to have your approval if you want to do this, but we think it's safer for you to be here rather than to go home, because we also did an evaluation of your dad. In your father's evaluation, we found out he does not want you in that house. He doesn't like you, none of that. We could see it. Every question we asked concerning you, it was a answer or a reply of, I don't want him in my house.
Wow.
So my first, during the evaluation, I remember the first question they asked, they said, when you get angry, what do you see? What do you draw what you feel? Then they said, if people don't respect how angry you are, what is your next step? Draw that. And because my father had told him, like, at some times when he gets really, really mad, he has like rolling blackouts where he just blacks out. And they said, draw what that looks like. And I remember the picture I drew was a T-Rex driving a tank out of a volcano.
What?
Like,
what was that?
Just a horrible picture.
Oh, wow.
And they said to me, even from looking at that, they said, your temperament is ridiculous. Like, we can tell that's the number one thing we need to help you with is your temper. So we can, by law, because we don't feel safe sending you home with your father, we can admit you for 6 months if you're okay with it.
So were you admitted?
Yes. I was admitted that day. I didn't even get to say bye to my dad. Like, he just left. They took me into a room. They said, well, we're going to do your, what is it called, intake. Went through the intake, met a whole bunch of people, and I'll say this, I know we're on television, them people was crazy.
Okay. Okay.
Them people was crazy.
Okay.
But I learned in that facility how to deal with my temper. I learned how to, the thing they taught me is you have to learn how to laugh.
Okay.
Even when crying seems like the only option, you have to learn how to laugh.
So did this treatment or this facility, did it help the relationship with you and your dad?
No.
Okay.
It actually made it worse between me and him because I had no respect for him. It went to a far low because I felt abandoned. Like, I felt like you left me. You left me with strangers, and you openly told the strangers you don't like me.
How old are you at this time?
12, going on 13.
So were you ever reunited with your father?
When he left, I didn't see him for 6 months. So that 6 months, I was in there for 6 months with them. Now, at the end of the 6 months, he came and picked me up.
Okay.
And we're driving. I know the freeway system in Columbus, and I know we were supposed to get on 70 East, but we passed 70 East, and we kept going south. And we end up at a place called Hananeel, which was an adoption home. And 2 people came and picked me up out of the car and was like, all right, you're coming in here. So for the next 6 months, I was in an adoption home. So I spent 1 year not even in the house after my mother died, all because he didn't want me there.
Wow.
So I was in there for 6 months, watching people who I built friendships with get adopted. Everyone's getting adopted, and I'm still sitting in my room.
And so no one adopted you?
No.
After 6 months, you're there.
Still
so
there.
What do you do after 6 months?
After 6 months, my father came and picked me up.
Okay.
And they said, well, nobody would adopt him because I had to learn how to use those skill sets that I learned in the Riverside about how to deal with my temper, because immediately when I got out of there, my temper was like,
okay.
I'm being taken to a place that I don't want to go.
Okay. So
he picked me up. I was there with him for a while, and he put me out the house because I didn't want to wash his girlfriend's dishes. Like, some strange woman who I don't know. You want me to clean up behind her? She's an adult. She can clean up behind herself. That was my thinking. He said, if you can't abide by my rules, you can't be in my house.
So that put you out the house.
And that's when I got kicked out the house.
Now what do you do? You're on your own. You get kicked out of the house.
Went to a couple of friends' houses that I went to school with. I slept under cars a couple times, broke into houses, abandoned buildings. I did all of that stuff. And then there was, like, if I was really, really hungry, the lady at the gas station down the street, a lady named Tony, she knew that I was stealing from the store and she would catch me doing it and didn't care. Like she would literally, like I'm looking at her putting stuff in my pocket and she's looking at me do it and would let me walk out.
So you're pretty much fending for yourself. This is survival mode.
Yes.
Now what?
So I went to the mall with my brother. My brother saw me outside and he was like, let's go to the mall. So I went to the mall with him and we walked past these guys that had bandanas on their faces. And one of the guys recognized my older brother. And he said to him, you know, what's going on, Gene? Called him by his name. And my brother turns to me and he says, I want you to stay away from them. Like, don't ever go near them. Don't deal with these people.
And
ever.
Who is them that he's referring to?
It's some gang members.
So now you're being introduced to
that.
Okay.
While I'm out and dealing with everything I was dealing with, at this time I was in 7th grade by the time I actually talked to them. It was 6th grade when I met them, 7th grade when I actually talked to them.
Okay.
I was walking down the street. I saw the main guy that my brother talked to sitting on the porch. I'd always seen him on this porch every day. So I went over and I talked to him and he said, who are you, number one? And then he remembered, he said, oh, you're Gene's little brother. And he remembered who I was when 3 guys walked around the side of the house with pistols in their hands, walking up to me because I'm just some strange guy just walking up to, this guy.
So now are you in the gang or they are
Not
just,
yet.
Okay.
So at that moment, we talked. He said, man, you look like you need to take a shower and go to sleep, man. Where are you staying at? I said, I'm just wherever. He said, well, do me a favor. Go in the house, take a shower. I'll get some clothes for you. You can sleep on the couch. I was like, cool. Did that for a few days. Then he came to me and he said, well, this is what's going to have to happen. In order for me to keep doing this, you're going to have to do something. And you got to make a decision. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, let me explain to you who I am. And he told me. And I told him, I'm game. 7th grade at this time, I'm game. Let's do it.
I'm game to
be initiated, get jumped in, go through the whole process. So what happens, so this is a 6-point star. What happens is they put you in the middle of a 6-point star and you're jumped by 6 people for 2 minutes.
That's the initiation.
That's the initiation.
What? I never understood that.
So for 2 minutes, you're jumped by 6 people and the only rule is don't fall.
Oh my goodness.
So for 2 minutes, I'm fighting 6 guys.
And you're being whipped or are you?
Oh, it's a fight.
Oh my.
And he told me, he said, your best bet is to get your back against a wall. It's a full-out fight.
And this is their way of showing, hey, you're part of our...
This is how you join.
This is brotherhood.
Because at the end of it, at the end of the 2 minutes, you're embraced by those 6 guys and everyone who's there. It was a level of love I had never saw before.
And so was this something that you were missing with your dad? So you accepted that?
I looked at this guy as my father for a long time because he took me in. He made sure I ate. He made sure I had clothes. He made sure I had money. He made sure I was able to do the stuff I needed to do. If I felt afraid or if somebody wanted to fight me or if I felt like I was going to get jumped, it was him.
So now you have family.
I have family.
You have security. Mm-hmm. You have safety. You have brothers.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's how the enemy, he fools us through that false sense of security. You know what? We have a lot more that we want to discuss. I know that you also were a part of the church while you were in the gang, and we want to talk a little bit about that, but we're going to pick that up next time when we come back.
Okay.
You have such an amazing story, and there's so much more that we need to talk about, and we don't have that much time in this episode. So if you can just stick around with us, we're going to come back with Pastor Sean. He's going to let us know that you got salvation.
Oh, yeah.
You received salvation, God cleaned you up, and then later on, you died.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you're going to have to come back because we're going to have to get part 2 from that. That is just amazing. So what we want you to do, if you want to get connected or learn more about Pastor Sean, you can visit him on his website at riseofaremnant.org. Again, that's riseofaremnant.org. Thank you so much, Pastor Sean, for being with us. Thank you so much for watching. This is The Day TV Ministries, where we walk by faith and not by sight. Thank you for watching and joining us today. As always, your prayers are very appreciated. But if you would like to support this ministry, you can visit us at GoFundMe, then search This Is the Day TV Ministries. Your contributions will be greatly appreciated. We would like to also thank Grace Point Media for the production of today's show in their studio. For your video production needs, you can visit them at their website, gracepoint.media. Well, that will do it for us at This Is the Day TV Ministries, where we walk by faith and not by sight.